And of course, they brought buddies over then. How are you this evening?
I'm doing very good. How about you?
Good. Good. Glad it's pulled off a little.
Yes, last week was horrible. Thank you.
Agenda.
So we see, man.
I don't think you're gonna talk about it, yes.
Hello. So good. So there was a person outside that had like your same like hair and glasses and whatnot, and I was like, it's Heather Saylor, and she was like,
Well, we've already started.
yeah.
She's like,
And then,
no.
and then I got closer, and I was like, oh no, you are not Heather Saylor. Like,
Hi, here I am.
yeah. And I was like, this people could play shit. The K6 campus, very logical.
We also have
Yes. Yes.
I saw one of them
Hey.
Hello.
driving down 13 as I was coming this way, because I could tell they had been here because they had the big green. pickup
No,
truck.
last time.
Mom was like pulling it out of the folder, and I'm like, oh. Well, kindergarten open
Sorry.
house,
I
really?
don't have that many people.
I started walking in, I saw all these parents, I went, oh. no.
Welcome to kindergarten open house.
Open house.
Yes, thank you.
Tomorrow. Yes.
So, hold on.
Oh.
I'll be a real bad. Food for dinner, huh? Cool. The video. Oh.
I haven't.
Yeah, would you like to sign
Bad
in?
for like, for a file.
Wanna-
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not having sex.
One-on-one, camera staring at
Just you.
Even adults.
I got the menu. I'm old, I don't have to- I guess I don't know.
you. I really do.
Yeah.
Are you done with kindergarten?
She wouldn't let sit by me.
Barb was more insistent than you were. Barb was more insistent than you.
Well, I've learned not to even try to come between them. It is just, no.
Not happening.
I respect the friendship. I don't know, okay.
I'm gonna walk out and see you so the boss knows where we are.
Okay. So,
We don't have to take a date with the-
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Just creating hypothetical arguments in my head and energy, but she was up there.
It's okay. And so Melissa, so unfortunately, I called.
Sure.
I mean, I don't, sorry, that kind of, but I saw something. Oh, good. Good. That was good. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Things are going good. How's the first part of the year?
I know, crazy.
Actually, it's not, I mean, some of us go with one.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like,
It's
it's
held
last minute.
Yeah.
It is a minor heart attack. Calmly crazy.
Well, you already know the
I
crazy to
already
expect.
Sure.
So the crazy you know is better than the crazy you don't know. I will tell you, I just emailed this service. He's using assignment.
I used to tell my husband when I
So
was in
he's
the
on my
military.
Audible right now.
Oh, the
He picked the tie.
Okay, so that's a tough one. I mean,
We got everybody home. We didn't lose any today.
that is a tough one.
It's a good day.
I think
I've
that'll
read through several of them.
work up his alley.
Good, good.
You know,
I mean, it's just so many factors.
Is it?
Jeff has the full
Kind of
packet.
have to remember all
So
the
if he doesn't show up, like,
Well, he sort of will,
No,
because
he's
the way
just
he
no.
comes off. Yes. The
Yeah.
way his grammar,
I like it.
it'll be good, and it's only 2 hours and 53 minutes.
He's not coming?
So he'll be done.
oh, well, then you'll need
Yeah,
the
I don't
packet.
want
Right.
Put it at 2.5, it'll be like an hour.
Oh.
So he'll be done it
That's
by.
just the-
I love
You
to.
took it?
That was on my file.
I did go up to like.
It was just the handbook.
Oh, no, there's a whole
Whole
set, whole thing.
Is that the whole thing?
Alright.
Well, yeah.
Should I finish?
This calendar.
You're the only one that has that.
Okay, all right.
So,
Yeah, that was on my
relative was.
file.
Leslie's almost here.
Yeah. she'll be here in a second.
Okay, I have a recipe. I get some sort of thing. She's ready. I heard.
Oh, yes.
Well, honey, you better pick it up.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hear anybody.
He's the one that called the meeting. He doesn't have it on his calendar.
Like, so I just,
We're gonna do
I
that.
was nervous how
She has no evidence.
Okay.
so.
And now. It's not that.
Oh, you know, I have to.
I don't know that there's a calendar.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I
even-
mean, a lot of change for her.
Well, I'm just saying.
He's at his son's soccer practice.
This never happens.
It's just, no, it does
Just
not.
letting you know, boss. It never happens.
It's called the first week of school. Yes. Chaos. Yes.
We are live. We are, okay, I'm just gonna wait for Leslie's. Let's get started.
I went ahead and included the minutes for the last two meetings, because I have to get it off to Child Nutrition and Little Rock, the sign from our last regular scheduled meetings.
I think we're gonna skip. I'm guessing Dr. Riley's probably the same situation.
Well, Katie's got a report about the masks.
Okay, I think we'll
Updates.
probably skip the officer election until next week. Because we're gonna meet next week too, right?
I'm pardon me?
Still meeting next week. is the
Right.
plan, So probably skip that.
I was working on the packet. You'll get it tomorrow.
Okay.
Are we having finance meeting next Monday?
Set that up.
Not on the, yeah, we need to set that up.
We need to.
I figured you guys need to.
Do you want to
Finance
choose
committee.
committee members? And then we can schedule that. We need to schedule PD for the board. What I emailed you about earlier. So if y'all could look at your calendars and let me know what dates you're available.
Is it still like the?
It'll be a 3-hour
Later
training.
dates, the 12, 15, 16.
Those are-
Originally, it was like 5, 6, 8, 9 or something.
It was 12, 13, 16, 17. I can get 5 of you together and one couldn't go, but it's imperative that we have you all together. No. It's like, I can look at my calendar again.
We can bump it to the next week. So just to
Yeah.
get everyone there, so whenever
Yes.
that works.
And then I can text. You said Leslie is coming
Yeah, she's just a couple minutes.
and Dr. Riley, we're not sure. Want me to text you?
You don't have her phone.
Did we move the executive session earlier in new business? Okay.
I imagine you could have it anytime. However, they generally do it at the end in case people are here for specifically for the new business, and then they get to be excused.
Yeah, we've got.
Yeah. I did. And they are online.
Oh, okay.
No, you won't see them. Yeah.
Pardon me?
Here, I'm gonna go get one.
Are they in here?
I got some.
Oh,
I was hanging on my ear.
Okay, we're rolling. We've been rolling, I think, Vic.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, guys. Welcome to the special meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First and second on that. Call the meeting to order.
No.
So, meeting's in order. We're going to establish a roll call. So Nate Fries.
Adrienne McGinnis.
Marissa Roberts.
Leslie Post. Allison Roberts.
So we have a quorum. Next on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a flag this time. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, looks like we have a couple comments from the public. I believe, Vic, we have 4. They're all online right now.
3 are online.
3 are online.
The first one, who do we have?
Brianne
Brianne.
Gilchrist.
Dr. Riley said she'll be here shortly.
Okay, so to the next one, then we have Kelly Camphor.
Kelly is not online. We have Amanda.
Amanda, she's next in line. So let me know when she's ready. Amanda, whenever you're ready to speak, if Vic's got you on, we're ready to go.
Well, is Amanda the first one or Brianne?
Oh, I thought Brianne was not here yet.
No, she's here.
Oh, she is. Okay, I'm sorry.
Brianne,
Brianne is
Amanda,
first.
and Amy are
Yes, Brianne is the first.
online. We'll have to unmute Brianne.
Big magic.
You're not supposed to be here.
Let's go to Amanda.
Amanda, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, hi. Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm pretty sure that it's not on the agenda about masks, but I do want to take a moment as a parent with 2 children coming into Arkansas Arts Academy this year to say how important it is to my personal health and their mental health that we can require masks if the state lets us. I am in my mid-40s with COPD, and that is the result of parents and grandparents and generations before smoking in homes and in cars without knowing the damage it was doing to us. And we are taking a huge risk with our children with a virus that we don't know, even if they're asymptomatic or they have a mild case, we don't know what the long-term impacts are on them. And we do know that people, even vaccinated, with data coming out with high risk lung diseases, are negatively impacted. So I'm really hoping that the school takes the opportunity to protect our students, because you did an amazing job last year. And honestly, it was the only reason I even considered sending my kids on campus this next year. And we did virtual last year, and it was hard. It was hard, not just because I'm a working mom, but hard for them because they didn't get to be around their friends, and they didn't get to be around professionals who are actually really great at teaching our kids the basics in education that they need and the social that they need. So I want to encourage you to vote on masks as a yes if we are allowed to, but I also want to thank you for the great job you did last year in allowing me to feel safe to send them to school this year. So that's all I had to say. And again, thank you for what you guys did last year, and thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you for your time, Amanda. We appreciate the comment. We got Brianne.
Well, she still hasn't unmuted. I chatted with her.
Okay, we'll just move on. Amy Gillespie.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity and thank you for all the work that you put in there, as Amanda said. To introduce myself for those who don't know me, I'm a parent of a 7th and a 4th grader. I'm also a substitute teacher in the district and I'm a former employee. And I've already reached out to all of you all through email, so I'll be really quick tonight. I just want to go on the record publicly as in favor of a mask mandate for all students and staff at both campuses, just as soon as Act 1002 is no longer a barrier to that. Because this news just happened just a little bit ago, I do want to let you know that Tom Mars did file his lawsuit tonight. So whether or not the Arkansas legislature takes action tomorrow, there is still that pending lawsuit. So what I ask tonight is that we pass a policy mandating masks on both campuses for students and staff and visitors that contains some kind of a trigger clause that says it goes into effect just as soon as that law is no longer a barrier. Thank you all for your time. That's all I have.
Thank you, Amy. Brianne? No? How about Kelly?
And Kelly is not.
Not here. Okay. Sorry, Brianne. I would just encourage you to maybe send an email to the board with your concerns or questions. We'll be able to respond to you if we can on that. Or we do have next week, a meeting next week as well. We'd really like to hear what you have to say. So we can get that figured out there. Maybe we'll help with that the next week to make sure she has a chance to speak. I appreciate that. Okay. Did Jeff just join?
Yes.
Is he at soccer? Jeff, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
All right, bud. Okay, so we just went through public comments. So next is the consent agenda. We have to approve of the July regular and special meeting board minutes. Everyone have a chance to look at those. Any questions or call outs or issues with those? Okay, how about the enrollment report? Y'all see the enrollment report as well. I have it if you have not seen it.
We have filled the 11th grade, they're full now. Maybe it was 10th, I'm sorry. And the others are pending paperwork, so we should be at our full capacity by Wednesday or maybe a day or two later.
Is that the 1225 then?
No, we won't make 1225. I think it was at 12:10.
Okay.
I have 13, 7, 12 virtual students right now.
I have 33. 33.
And 13.
Okay. So those are the two consent agenda items. Are you going to motion to approve those?
So moved.
With a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you.
Marissa. Thank you.
All right, new business. So Jeff could not be physically here, so he cannot vote because he's not physically here. However, we do have an announcement to make. So Jeff, if you can hear me, you can go ahead and we'll talk about the board member resignation from last month.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So last month, or shortly after our last board meeting, we heard from Adrienne Jackson, our current board member, that she was going to need to resign from the board for some health concerns. We definitely appreciate everything that Adrienne has given us and the time that she has given to the board and such, but it's something where she definitely needs to step away and focus on getting herself better. So while we miss her, we definitely understand that and wish her the best. We are faced with the decision of appointing a replacement board member, but prior to moving into that, we would need a motion and a vote to accept Adrienne's resignation and declare a vacancy.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that is accepted. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, so moving on, it is the board's responsibility in a situation like this where we have a resignation in the middle of a year or not during the term of an election that we would recognize and deliberate and appoint a replacement. I have 3 candidates that I'd like to suggest to the board. 2 of them happen to be on the or 2 of them were put their name in the hat during the election process in late spring. One being Michael Gillespie, the other being Tawfiq Abu Hamdan. And I apologize, Tawfiq, if I'm mispronouncing your name. And then we had a newcomer that put her name into the mix, and that was Haley Alsdorf. A little bit about these 3. You guys probably remember the videos for Tawfiq and for Michael. For Haley, Haley has, I believe she has a daughter that's at the school, or it might be a son. I apologize, but I know she has a child that's at the school. Definitely sees that there's a need and wants to be a part of this. You're probably recognizing from her last name that she is related to Howard, who was one of our recently departed members from the board, and a long-term contributor. But yeah, she's and I know that she sent an email to the board expressing her interest, so you guys may have seen that as well. So those are the 3 candidates that we have in front of us. I know we know a little bit about, like I said, Michael and Tawfiq already, so I guess I'd just like to open it up for commentary and deliberation from the board.
Yeah, good. Jeff, it sounds like, have you talked to all 3 of these people?
I have. All 3 have expressed interest in filling the vacancy. So really it's up to us to really just kind of sort through and see as a board, who we'd like to appoint into that position.
Is it an option to do an election?
In this particular case, it is the board's. The board would appoint a replacement. That is the way that the guidelines are created. Not that we would hold another election.
Do you have record of the professional background of all 3 of these candidates, so we can see what they could contribute towards the work?
I don't have those things on me right now. No, those 2, like I said, Michael and Tawfiq, there was documentation that was presented when they expressed their original interest in the late spring. So I know our existing board members are aware of that. And then Haley, the only information I have on Haley is what came in the form of her email that was addressed to all board members.
Jeff, as a follow-up to that question, does this decision need to be made tonight? I feel a little unprepared to even have a discussion because I don't, while I did watch all of those videos, I didn't watch them today, and off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Would it be possible for us to get those sent back out to us and vote on it next Tuesday?
I can send them back out. Yeah, that's fine. It's a tricky spot, and you guys are aware of this. The board, we're limited to what we can talk about offline. We cannot deliberate on any of this stuff offline. It has to be in a public session. So I'm happy to send it out again, but it is something that we do need to get put to bed sooner rather than later.
I don't think I'm able to have an educated discussion right now about any of these people. So I don't have a recommendation. I would have to just step back and say, I just don't know any of these people.
And just as a point of reference, also, it would be good to know what the parents voted on the school. So if we could get that from Debbie, what the actual vote count was of the past election, I think that would be helpful for me personally.
I have it, I can fill it out.
That would be awesome.
I can tell you, I can tell you that of the last election, the only one that's on this list is Tawfiq, and he's next in line. But I'll tell you.
Michael wasn't.
Michael was also on there as well.
Yeah, it's on the bottom of this.
Tawfiq and Michael were both involved in the election.
But they were both.
Correct.
Tawfiq was the.
Tawfiq was the next one in line. On these 3, he was the next in line. But I think it's a good point that you made. You look at that. I think
it'd be nice to read applications again and
table it to next Tuesday.
and maybe we could get Mrs. Alsdorf to, we get her to fill out
Absolutely.
One of the board, the things we had to fill out when we ran. Yeah, and then maybe if you could send that to us by the end of this week and we can vote on it next Tuesday.
And there may be other people that are interested too, for that matter. I mean, just opening it up. I mean, if we're gonna open it up to people beyond who were on the ticket, then people are finding out about it now. I'm finding out about it now, so I know other people are finding out about it now.
Yeah, I'd have to, I'm fine to send these out. I would hesitate to open it back up to a full-on search. That's why we have the election in the spring. And it is something we do have the ability as a board to be a little bit faster on this. And if we had 3 people that were already interested, 3 people that
We had
2
two
people that
people.
were already interested.
We had
Right.
2 people that were
So I'm-
interested and 1 new one. And none of us, besides you that I know of, have had the chance to ask anyone else if they're interested or talk to anyone else. So I think that would be an option between now and then. And I do appreciate, Jeff, I appreciate you with taking this and working on it and trying to come up with, anyone else, but, and I know we're kind of pushed for time, but I would think that in all fairness, we have to be open to anyone else between now and then.
Well, I will send out the information resend for Michael and for Tafik, and we can reach out to Haley and ask her to put anything else. And if anybody else, I guess, if we have any other interested parties that have not surfaced in the last 2 weeks since we've known about Adrian's resignation, then we can entertain those as well. But to date, there've been none. If there's anything else, or if there's anybody else, then happy to look at them as well.
Thanks, Jeff.
So wasn't necessarily on the agenda, but I think we should take a motion to table this until next Tuesday. Maybe you have some go-gets for us as far as getting Haley's
Application, I'll get that out to her tomorrow.
completed. And then just open it up to the parents, to the board here, if you know anybody that is interested. in
I'd say
being
we
on
need all the
board.
information by Friday.
Yeah.
If you're interested, get your stuff in by Friday. And so we can look at it over the weekend. And then maybe we could make up a little ballot. Or we could just vote as a board.
Well, I think we have to vote publicly.
You do.
Oh,
It doesn't matter, so we'll just take
Okay,
a vote.
that's
Who do you
fine.
vote for? We vote for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
We'll just have to
So-
make motions on each
Yeah.
individual spot.
so that motion, you need a second on that? So moved.
Second. Or
I
something,
messed that up.
whatever.
So moved.
I'll second that we
Second.
table it till
Table
Tuesday.
till Tuesday. Information's back by Friday.
Got it. Friday at noon. Then we can get it back to out to us. Like if you guys can turn it in Friday by noon.
So Friday by noon.
Yes.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes, thank you. With that, we do have, next on the agenda is a school board officer election. So every year, once the new board members come on board, usually this happens in July. Last month was a little short, obviously, we had some issues. Had some absences as well on the board. So we've tabled that to this meeting. So typically how this works is that everybody in the board gets an opportunity to recommend or nominate someone on the board to take an officer position. And the 3 officer positions are president, vice president, and treasurer, secretary. So that being said, do we feel comfortable enough today to do that?
Yeah.
Without Jeff here. He
Well, I
can
know-
make recommendations, he just can't vote.
I nominate
Right.
you as president, you as vice president, who wants the treasurer?
I think that. I think we have to do each one individually.
Treasurer.
We need to do each one individually. I'm
Okay.
totally awesome.
Yeah.
That's like, but
I nominate
All right.
Jeff for president.
So we'll go with,
second,
okay, hold on.
let's vote on president
So
first.
president, so everybody gets an opportunity to make a nomination. So nominates Jeff.
I
as well. Jeff, you all right with that?
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I've been thinking a lot about just kind of the time that I have available and such, with the day job and the kiddos and all that kind of stuff. I'd actually like to recommend Nate, because I think that Nate and I work really well. I mean, honestly, our whole board works really well together. But that was I'd kind of like to recommend Nate that because I think that he's done an outstanding job of really keeping us organized, and may have a little more time than I do for some of that. Although my hope is that all of our time commitments are going to lighten up a little bit now that we have a firm administrative structure in place and such here in the coming months. But that would be my recommendation, would be for Nate as president.
I will copy that. He's shaking his head yes, so.
Are you VP, Jeff?
Sorry?
Are you VP then?
Oh, I'd be happy to tag team that with you. I think that'd be great. Because we work really well together anyway. I think it's going to be, it's going to, if one of us is president and the other one's vice president, we have really good synergy. You're really going to be getting the same out of both of us either way.
Yeah, agreed. Does everybody agree to that?
Yes. All right, so I nominate Nate, second Nate as president.
Okay.
And then
We just have to vote on it.
So,
yeah.
okay, so pencil with a pen, Nate. VP, I nominate Jeff.
Well, we have to vote.
On each individual.
President
Vote on each
Oh,
position
good call.
separately.
Okay. All right, so do I even have the opportunity to say that? Are you guys?
You have to, recuse yourself.
That's what I think, right?
Yeah, you recuse.
All right, so there's been a nomination for me to be president. All in favor?
I'll
Okay, motion.
I'll take over. You can't technically do. The motion was made, and a first and a second for Nate as president. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? No opposed. The motion passes. Nate.
Congratulations, Nate.
Thanks, Jeff.
I nominate Jeff
Oh,
for
please.
vice president.
Yes.
Same. So I would
Okay.
like to make a motion that we vote for Jeff. All in favor? Aye.
You
All
have to have
opposed?
Second.
Okay.
We need a
I was
second
a
before we
second.
vote.
I was the second.
Okay, thank you.
Nate.
Are you happy to be
Matt.
treasurer?
Okay, and then secretary. Okay, so vote for
That position, you have to call for the vote.
call for the vote, Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to call for the vote of all in favor,
Aye.
all opposed. Okay, I have it, got it. Okay, seriously.
I recommend.
We're really confused right now. This is all good. All right,
I recommend-
treasurer, secretary, which is 2 and 1. I have the privilege of having that role now. Well. I
And to
used
me, it's the hardest job. It's
It's
really
tough.
the most intense, time-wise. I say that in a normal year, I think it is, with the exception of special years like this one. The president was a huge role too, and the vice president.
So I
just stepped
nominate
into that.
Adrian.
All right. We all have-
Second, I'll second it.
So
Yeah,
nomination.
I would agree. I think Adrian, with her finance background and such, would be an awesome choice to fill that role.
All right, so we have a first and a second to make Adrian secretary treasurer. All in favor to that?
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations. This is the torch. Okay, Jeff, thank you for that, bud.
No problem, guys.
Okay, next on the agenda, we need to approve Dr. Roberts to introduce Dr.
Yes, I didn't get to meet you.
That's a better
I'm
idea.
sorry.
Okay, so parents, students, teachers that are here, if you haven't met Dr. Roberts, this is Dr. Allison Roberts, and I would try to give you all of her history on why she was selected in this position. However, she will do a much better job of explaining it. So we are so happy that you're here. So happy to see your face in person.
Thank you so
Welcome
much.
to this. It's a little unorthodox today, but anyway, thank you for coming. We appreciate you being part of the team.
Thank you.
Really looking forward.
Thank you so much.
So if you wouldn't mind, can you take 5 minutes and just talk to the parents about who you are, what you do?
Sure.
And that would be
Sure. So I'm Allison Roberts. I'm originally from Arkansas, although I've lived in 4 other states and worked and taught in education in 4 other states. I have a background in art education originally as a teacher, and then professional development facilitator, national arts integration trainer, the then I went into administration, and then for the past 3 years, I've been working for Governor Hutchinson as his education advisor for the full spectrum of education, pre-K to higher education. And so I'm really thrilled to be here, and this is the background, this is my roots in arts education and integration. I love it, so I'm thrilled to be here. It's great to look at sort of just from looking at the overview of policy across the state. It's really great to be in a situation where it's hands-on and I'm interacting with teachers, and I love that. And looking forward to working with parents and students. So I'm glad I'm here. Thank you.
So much appreciated.
Thank you.
Really, really excited about you. So the work begins.
Yes,
It
yes.
does. All right, so that being said, we're going to get approval to adding Dr. Roberts to the checking account and issuing charge card. So would I have a second?
Second.
Right, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, congratulations.
You get a
get a credit
card.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who did second.
I did, Marissa.
Awesome.
Okay, so Amanda and Amy, again, thank you for your comments. We actually, the next topic is about CDC guidelines. So I believe that's going to be.
Yep.
Okay. So Ms. Page, you could please.
Yes.
How's it looking?
So the CDC did recently release new guidelines for fully vaccinated individuals. They recommend fully vaccinated people to wear a mask in public indoor settings in areas of substantial or high transmission, which currently is Benton County. Fully vaccinated people who have a known exposure to someone with suspected or confirmed COVID-19, they recommend they be tested 3 to 5 days after exposure. And to wear a mask in public indoor settings for 14 days or until they receive a negative test. They recommend they get tested if they're experiencing COVID-19 symptoms. They recommend that they isolate if they have tested positive for COVID-19. But most importantly, CDC recommends universal indoor masking for all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to school, regardless of vaccination status. So the Delta variant has been seen to spread much easier, and then with a population of young children who are not eligible for vaccines, I think this speaks to the importance of masking right now.
So your recommendation as the district nurse would be to mandate masks in our school based on the CDC guidance?
Yes.
Dr. Roberts, do you have any issues with that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I feel like that.
So,
Jeff.
sorry, I was going to say, do we even have the authority at this point to mandate masks inside of a school setting? I thought that the Act 1002 was still saying that we do not have that authority. Am I incorrect?
I'm wondering if we have the ability to, as Amy mentioned earlier, make or vote on it per legal, because that's how we would any other kind of, anything else we vote on per it fitting state guidelines.
So yes, we cannot mandate right now, it's against the law, state law. But what you could do if you wanted to was say, if and when that changes and schools are allowed to have their local authority to make mask mandates, that is what we want to do.
Per it being in guidelines,
Yes.
state
Yes.
guidelines.
Yes, and I agree to that. I think it's a very smart and wise decision. So I'm fully supportive of that.
Do you or Nurse Katie, do we have anything written that you're kind of bringing to us to say, because we can't just like make it up. So do you have something written that you're kind of putting in front of us, or that you have plans to put in front of us next Tuesday to say, this is what we want you to approve, like this is what we're wanting to do, this is what we want it to say, even if there's a clause, like I believe it was Amy that brought up, do we have anything in writing yet? I can pull our mask policy from last year and just update it.
We don't have anything written to make a proposal right now because it's slow in the year, but we definitely can do that. If something hasn't changed by the Tuesday, the next board meeting, we can have something in writing so you guys can vote.
Yeah, I think
If
it's
you, yeah, I think you, if you want us to consider something for that, we'll have to have it in writing. But I mean, we can still continue to have a discussion for sure.
And we don't have to have it in writing. We can, I'm comfortable making a proposal. Dr. Riley would probably be.
Well, we have to vote on a policy, Leslie, so we have to have
But I
something
mean,
in
we
writing.
could vote on the policy. I mean, we're the same policy that we had last year.
I think we already voted on that policy, and approved that policy, if I remember, the last meeting. Where we added,
Well,
in
we
subject to
actually-
CDC guidance.
The last thing we did is actually say, basically, you don't have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated. That's actually the last thing we did.
What we changed it should say, unless it was a CDC guidance change, right?
Well, we kind of quibbled, but I think we need a new, and just a paragraph, an update, and we can kind of vote on it next Tuesday.
My concern was
Hey, Nate.
Yeah.
Nate, would it be possible for me to share, to be able to share some content? I'm on my phone, but I wanted to share a screen, some data with you guys, just for the public to be able to see why we're talking about this.
Yeah, if you can, that'd be great.
Okay, let me see if I can do this actually from my phone.
have the master permission of,
Then maybe I can't.
Is it not letting me?
can you just? Victor, I was joking when I was saying, but I did really mean it. But Victor, can you help? You should be able to share, Jeff.
He's on his phone. Vic.
I'm on my phone though, so it may not let me. I can just tell
You wanna
people.
read it, Jeff?
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason why we're looking at this is the current case rate today for COVID has basically is right back where it was right about Thanksgiving of 2020. And as you guys remember, that was kind of the start and the rise right around the holidays when people were around each other a ton, and it escalated into December, and then it hit its high point into January, and then started to come back down when vaccines came out. Where we're at is we're at about 60% of the highest point that Arkansas has seen at any point during the pandemic. So basically, if you were looking at this on a curve, you would have seen a giant spike that would have been starting around November 2020, hitting its peak in January of 2021, and now it fell down to the floor. But basically, now we're right back at about 60% of that highest peak. That's why we're looking at this going, gosh, okay, what were the things we were doing in November of 2020? Because they worked really well. We didn't have an overwhelming outbreak of pandemic or of COVID cases during that time in the school, even though the region itself was spiking. I think that's really, if I'm explaining it to the public, that's probably the biggest reason why we're looking at this. We don't take it lightly. I don't think any of us are excited about the fact that we're still talking about masking policies and such. But if we're looking at the data, and this is real data, we need to be taking it seriously. We need to be doing the same things we were doing in November of 2020. So yes, we can't mandate masking right now, but I would strongly recommend parents to consider having their kids wear a mask when they're in school. It's not something we can force, but I would strongly recommend it.
Something that can be written. The clause added that once this.
Is it possible that we can put something in place for this upcoming week because the state can change something tomorrow? And I really would like to avoid, if possible, our students starting the school year. If the law is now allowing, I would rather not wait until next Tuesday. I know by next Tuesday, we can have something more official, but I think that we can probably verbalize something right now to get us over the hump in the instance that the legislature does change prior to next Tuesday. And we have 3 or 4 days with our students walking around with masks. Which is very possible because we're on the early count, we're on a different calendar than everybody else. And so it's very possible something might come out Friday.
So what you're asking is can we implement
Something temporary.
without having to come back and meet again to vote on? Yes, we agree with that. So would that be sort of like a?
She's looking it up.
We've got some other things to discuss.
Yeah, let me go run to my office.
Find that. I'll be back.
Let's go back.
All right.
We'll go back.
Okay, that's fair.
We can.
I fully support that. Amen.
Okay.
There's more people admitted in Mercy right now than there was at the height of with COVID. That's it. And if you have anything happen to you and they're on divert, you might have to go to Memphis for your heart attack. Because there are no beds because of COVID. Good luck. Bad. Great mask. Get your shot.
Go ahead, Dr. Roberts.
Thank you, thank you. I will say that both school administrators are strongly encouraging all their students to wear masks. Strongly encouraging all the staff to wear masks and model that behavior. So the quick switch will be, relatively easy. Nurse Katie has scheduled a vaccination clinic for August. Whether it was going to be held in October, so I asked her to move that up, so we'll have the dates on that, and that's coming up. We're gonna try to find,
And if it's gonna be Pfizer or Moderna, because I'm sure we'll get that question.
she will know.
Okay, maybe she'll tell us.
I think she's working with the same pharmacy group that did the last one.
Okay.
And then just so the board is aware, because we're on this topic, I announced to both staffs today that we're going to incentivize them getting a vaccination. So we can use the ESSER funds to incentivize that $200 per staff getting the vaccination.
Do you, not mean to be on the spot at all, and this really doesn't have bearing on our final decision, just, do you know our vaccination rates right now?
I was told we were at 70% staff. So,
Are we gonna be able to give the $200 to everybody who's already done it?
yes, great. And this is something that's very consistent with the majority of districts in the state. The incentivization of vaccination. So we're pretty much in line with that.
Do we have any idea about our kids?
That's a little bit of a
We can ask, that's only if
The-
they turn it in.
yeah, the health department will have that information if there's a contract tracing situation, but we don't have that. They just tell us that.
Any other questions? Well, we'll come back to the nurse Katie. Gotta vote.
Yeah, we'll come back to it.
All right, new hires and position changes. So I do know we got in the email that we got, there was a new position.
So there's going to be a new position that's being proposed for dyslexia. And that person has been identified and will come in to make sure that we are screening and we're identifying all the dyslexic needs. And that we are going through the proper processes to make sure they're addressed. So ideally, screen for dyslexia early, so then they get proper modifications and adjustments to their curriculum, so they don't continue to struggle with their reading intervention as they move forward. So that's the position.
Is this being paid out of ESSER funds?
This will be paid out of ESSER funds temporarily, sure. But we will also look at rolling it into our operating budget after. We can probably sustain it for 2-3 years, but then we'll need to roll it into our operating budget after that. So we'll try to do that as soon as
But
possible.
the plan for this year, for this
Yes,
one
sir.
that we're appropriating, so
Yeah.
which is what we talked
It's a huge win.
That's
yes. And that's what that money is designed for. And we'll talk about the budget of ESSER in a minute, but that's exactly what the districts are doing with their funds.
Has everyone had a chance to read that? I think Beth Scott sent that over. I don't have any questions.
On top of all of
Yeah,
our
she was.
information. I don't think she's figured it out. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. Okay, so we do need to vote that we approve that. So motion is we approve the new hire for the dyslexia teacher. Got a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Roberts, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we have a new dyslexia teacher. Awesome.
And Dr. Roberts is actually the one we already had, right?
But she's full-time
And now she's
Yes.
full-time, correct, correct.
Next on the agenda is approval of the student handbook. I believe this is the high school student handbook.
I'm sorry, Jeff, do we need to approve the other position we talked about?
I'm sorry, Jeff.
Nate. That was a brain, that's why I'm wearing a mask.
That's
No,
all right.
I'm kidding. But I did see several COVID patients today, so this is why I'm wearing this. Yeah, but I shouldn't be contagious for 3 or 4 more days. Anyway, we had talked about, since we were making the dyslexia teacher full-time, weren't we gonna bring in a second person?
We already approved that.
We already approved that? Okay, sorry, you're right. Never mind.
So do we approve one at the elementary? We approved the high school special education teacher. Right?
Correct.
I felt like there was 2 positions. that were
Yeah,
gonna
so
be
the one was a special education teacher that was part-time dyslexia, from my understanding. Matt, help me out with this, Mr. Young. Is that correct?
Yeah, so at the high school, we had 3 special ed teachers last year. And Heather fixed me when I screwed this up. But then part of her caseload became dyslexia.
Yes.
So when we came with that proposal last time, really it was a new dyslexia teacher at the high school that we were approving. And you guys approved that. And then the dyslexia teacher, this one is for our school, is for the K6 campus.
You have one full-time.
So we'll have 2 full-time dyslexia interventionists here.
It was 25 to 1. Is that the number?
Well, they still.
So we had 41 kids to be served here.
Right.
And really with the model we use, 24 to 1 is what that model looks like.
And we need to talk to Dr. Roberts about, they're still
It's still.
And that-
lacking in
yeah, I was gonna
dyslexia, but
I would love to hear and
so he has.
what are our
40
total, where we.
He has 41 kids at the elementary school that have been
That it
tested
special
and,
education.
and no dyslexia only. They've tested, they've been identified, and they have a program written. And what Dr. Roberts was talking about was this new dyslexia person is going to, part of her caseload is gonna be to,
Screen.
the screening earlier, so there
We're
may
gonna
be
have
even
more.
more, right? But if you think about 41 kids and they need an hour 4 times a week or more, you know, that's
hours don't exist.
way, you know, the hours aren't there, so.
We can work to evaluate that.
Yeah,
and
so
I'll bring
we're
it back
waiting on Dr.
once
Roberts to
We'll bring it back.
get her feet, but we were talking about this before she came on board, and so
Yeah.
she will, this is a little bit of an emergency approval with ESSER funds because Matt didn't have anybody full-time doing dyslexia, so.
We have 1, but he needs at least 2 to handle the current caseload.
Not the.
Not to
What
even
will it look
evaluate.
like?
We'll evaluate. Heather, I was just curious, not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot, what are our total special education staff numbers now?
Total
Compared to
special
where we were.
education staff numbers, how many special education staff
Yeah,
do we have?
From what we had allocated a year ago, because that's changed, and I know that was one of the big.
So, last year we had 2.5 sped teachers because half of Lori Gladden's job was dyslexia. And then 1 full-time special education teacher on this campus. And now we have 1 full-time special education teacher on this campus still and 3 full-time special education teachers on the 712 campus.
That helps me put it into perspective too, just.
Yeah.
Not to vote on it,
Any
just so that I can kind of wrap my head around it better if you.
Hey, excuse me, I want to clarify something. The part-time dyslexia special ed teacher went to dyslexia. We approved a special ed teacher last month.
Last month, this was the dyslexia we just. approved this time.
Correct, for this
Official
bill.
dyslexia. Yes. Any other questions? No, please bring it. Nope. That was the only position that was in the handbook. Was there any- or was there any
That's
others?
all I was saying.
That's it, okay. All right, approval of the student handbook for high school 7 to 12 campus and the code of conduct. To be honest, I got it today. I've read through about 10 pages of it. The first 10 pages look good.
I send it to you as soon as I receive it.
Yep, yep, it's fine.
I-
Yep, no
I
worries.
can't get through the whole thing. Does it have to be approved today or can we come table?
I did read it, but my question was, can you tell us?
What changed?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
That would be-
So the cell phone policy changed in that cell phones are no longer allowed on campus from 8:30 to 3:50. They should be off and in students' backpacks are off and in their Chromebook lockers charging. So there won't be cell phones at lunch. no cell phones in hallways, those kinds of things.
Applause for that.
Yes. That'd be great.
I think so too. And then we clarified the dress code, so very specifically defined what qualifies underwear and why I shouldn't see it.
Y'all, if you did not go to her meeting the other night, you should have. It might be recorded.
It was,
Tell me
yeah,
what they
so very clearly defining those things, very clearly defining what constitutes costuming or costume wear. Adding theatrical makeup to that, and then allowing for like hats and bandanas, because there are lots of kids that wear them. It's not a big deal. And then, but adding that whether it's a distraction or not is at the discretion of the principals on campus. And then clearly defining what constitutes pajamas and sleepwear, and adding in blankets, stuffed animals, and pillows to that as things that are banned from the high school campus.
Thank you for working on it so much.
Well, we had a very good group of students and parents and teachers who all contributed to it. And then one more, we adjusted the late work policy. Assignments that are given should be given because they have purpose and are driving student learning. So we're not going to give students the option of not doing them. So there are catch-alls in place for students who aren't doing assignments. They'll be pulled into advisory to make sure that they're done, or assigned to makeup work detention during lunch or after school if necessary, but holding kids accountable for making sure that they're attempting their assignments and making sure that teachers are working towards getting them done. Oh, final exemptions. There are no more mandatory multiple choice finals for every class on the high school campus, and there is no way to exempt yourself from an end of semester item. So that became a game of playing, well, that was an excused absence, and here's all this work that I didn't do, and now my grade is an A. Assessment is important for driving student education and for driving student learning. If it's an assessment that we need to know how much a student knows at the end of a year, it's an assessment that everyone should be doing so that we have that data for every student. And it doesn't have to be a multiple choice exam. It can be a performance, it can be a paper, it can be a whole variety of things, and teachers are given the liberty to choose what assessment they feel is most appropriate for their class.
I have a question about that particular item. I know that the local high schools have a policy that is opposite of that. Is that, so we're sort of separating ourselves from the trend of the way that final assessments are handled, right?
Yes.
And it's been, is there any data that supports, because normally if the kids are able to meet academic mastery during the school year, then that final exam is excused and it alleviates some like anxiety or some things. So you're saying the concerns that you were facing were that students were trying to do a bunch of makeup work to get an A at the end of the semester. Is there a way to alleviate that and not sort of, I'm not gonna say punish, not sort of make all kids, you know, if a kid has been working well all semester, has an A.
Right. Well, right now it does become a punishment though, for all of those students who maybe are working really hard, but they hit a C instead of a B or an A. Like now it becomes a punishment for them to have to take the final. So for me, if it's worth doing for one student to like show them to demonstrate mastery and that you have continued to learn that material, it's worth all of them doing. And that assessment obviously is going to be differentiated for different students, and my teachers do a great job of that. Our teachers on the high school campus do a great job of differentiating for the variety of students that we have and taking anxiety into account. It also reflects what's happening on college campuses. Like some of your classes, you're going to have a comprehensive multiple choice assessment as a final. Some classes you're not. And that is driven by the curriculum that you're learning. So sometimes that final assessment is a portfolio of your learning. Sometimes that assessment is the final paper. And so, you know, one, if we're preparing kids for something beyond high school and the only option that we're giving them for assessment is a multiple choice assessment, then we're not really preparing them for what they have to do. And two, if the multiple choice assessment is something that you can exempt yourself out of, the kids who are most likely to go to post-secondary school are never getting practice taking a comprehensive final at the end of a semester.
Just speaking from experience as a teacher of at-risk youth and who were trying to make up their credits, and I didn't teach honors classes. That really made them feel set apart. All of my friends they don't have to show up today for testing because they have an A, but I've worked really hard this year. I skipped class all last year, but I've worked really hard this year, and the best that I've done is a C. But now instead of hanging out with my friends on Friday, I have to go take this final test. So it does become a punishment for a lot of kids when the cutoff is you have an A, so you don't have to take the test. But what if their best work is a B, or what if their best work is a C? It does become a punishment. And if your best work is an A, it's probably not going to hurt you to go take the test, just prove once again that you have the material covered.
Is the cutoff that they have an A, or is the cutoff that they've turned in all of their assignments? Because I know a local high school that I'm referring to specifically is if they have completed all of their assignments.
It's a combination of things. It includes their grade level, or the grade that they've earned, the number of absences, unexcused absences that they have on file, and the number of missing or late work assignments that they have in place.
And that's the old policy. Now the new policy will be that everyone has to take it.
Mhm.
And okay, well, I just want to go on record and just say, I know it's a lot for a kid who's enrolled in 5 or 6 classes to take 5 or 6 finals all in within the period of 1 week. And that is my only concern. If they have consistently demonstrated mastery of the material or consistently completed all of the material for the entire semester, which would show their level of mastery. I totally get what you guys are saying. It's just the amount of time that a child has to take to test at a very high level and cover, rehearse in their mind the entire semester within 1 week for every single class that they take. I do think that they should have the option, if they've earned the option, to not have to do that to themselves.
So-
And I've been through,
I would
college
say
and-
that this policy actually helps alleviate that more than having an exemption policy, because an exemption policy still guarantees that 60% of students are going to be taking a final, all of their finals, in the last 2 days. In this policy, teachers are given the opportunity to say a multiple choice assessment is not the best way to assess my students in my class. And so like this final project could be the last 3 weeks we're working on. And so your final project is due at the end of the semester. And there are lots of teachers that are looking forward to being able to be more flexible with that and grade those final projects as they come in.
Okay, if that's the direction that it's leaning, instead of a kid is taking 6
In 2 days.
in 2 Okay,
If I may say, what this does is it gives teachers the flexibility to be very creative and think about a different way to sort of assess mastery of the content. And so in an art school, that's great because multiple choice is not an indication of anything other than they can state an answer, a demonstration or a performance or
A cooking
project
class.
that they, a hands-on involvement will really accelerate that demonstration mastery.
And Ms. Wright, I think I heard you say this, but not as specific as I'm gonna reiterate it. If there are gonna be kids who have IEPs that you're gonna have accommodations, but that's gonna be in their IEP, those accommodations already.
Absolutely. IEPs and 504s are legal documents that trump all the other things.
But we can work with staff to make sure they are cognizant of the volume of work that's got to be done, especially in that last little bit. And they work together to make sure that they scaffold that so it's not a complete overload for the kids. And I agree that's essential.
Just one clarification on the dress code. I got to that point. This was a way better conversation than what I'm going to ask you, but nevertheless, it's going to be important because my kid likes to wear hoodies. The hoodie hoods, that's just the hood part, not the actual hoodie, right?
Yes, that's just the hood part. It
Just
makes
wanna make
it,
sure to clarify.
makes it hard to identify them on
Yeah,
campus.
yeah, I agree with that. I just want to make sure that wasn't excluding all hoodies.
You can wear it, you just can't have it over your head.
Is
Okay.
correct.
I mean, I guess if I read it again, it is hoodie hoods, but
Okay.
I just wanted to ask the dumb
That's a good
question,
question.
you know, way more. I was a C student.
I was in the legislature when the underwear law was passed, and so as a, I have a IT schools.
I would really appreciate a little more time to go over
I
these
would too.
75 pages, because it literally just popped in my email as I was sitting here.
When does this need to go out? I know we're gonna want to get this out to the parents and the students. School starts Wednesday. We
Right.
wouldn't have the opportunity to actually vote on this until Tuesday next week. What does that do if we postpone getting the handbook out? I mean, is that
What did our existing handbook be in?
it's in place? The only
The
thing would be
existing handbook
updates
is in
without
place.
How,
Well, they're about to announce these new cell phone policies to these high school kids, and they really need those first 3 days. So, as she presented, Miss Carpenter, I'm sorry, not Mr. Presented to the parents the other night, you know, they are gonna have the first 3 days of school, they are gonna have that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, where they're gonna be reminded, and they're gonna be told in the lunchroom, you know, hey, put it away. But then after that, like come Monday, and I think there's, you know, I think the dress code is gonna be a big deal for some of the kids, but I think this new cell phone policy is really gonna be, it's gonna, you know, really be a big deal for the kids, but also really change kind of the climate. I think that was one of the purposes, was they're really trying to teach these high school kids who are sitting at the lunch table together all on their phones that, hey, you have 30 minutes, you can have a conversation with each other instead. So
I'm just curious, I would like more information on that. I'd love to hear from Roberts, from Ms. Wright, what other schools are doing, why we're proposing this. I mean, I just need.
For the cell phone policy.
For the cell phone policy.
So it's in line with what other high schools are doing. Cell phones are the #1 driver of discipline on our campus right now, because students will text each other and rile up things that happen in the classroom that we then deal with the fallout of. And then we do have children at lunch who, they don't know how to have conversations with the person sitting across from, like they will literally be texting each other and they're 4 feet away from each other, rather than having the conversation. So teaching some interpersonal skills and how we communicate, and Ms. Thomas and Ms. McGar are already like thinking about ways that they can get out and have conversation starters available for kids, so they start learning how to speak with each other. And their distractions, like the average student gets 100 to 200 messages, notifications on their phone during the school day. And so that's 100 to 200 instances of distraction that are happening when learning is supposed to take place. And we know that if our brains don't focus on what it is that we're supposed to do, we don't retain it as well. And so I think that's part of it as well, is really looking at helping them to focus on why they're there.
Hey, can I make a comment real quick?
Sure.
Just chiming in from the internet here. I know that, we've got school starting up pretty darn soon. Waiting until next Tuesday, we will have a few days of school already under our belt. To the board, is there any harm in us voting to approve the handbook as it stands today, with the idea that, I mean, it's a document that's subject to change at any time upon board approval as the year goes forward, where we could vote to approve today under the understanding to administration and to the team that if, as the board reviews, and if we find anything that we determine is of concern as the year goes on at any point, we can always vote to revisit and make amendments at that point.
It's a great suggestion.
The reason why I say that is that I think in the interest of our teachers and of our administrators, they'd probably like to be able to have a firm foundation to stand on from day one, and not be operating off of last year's handbook for a half of a week and then switching and kind of having some confusion with some of these new new guidelines and such for the kids. That'd be my suggestion, but open to whatever the board has to say about that.
Great suggestion. Thanks, Jeff.
Just a comment. Kind of trying to think back to when did it change when our kids could bring phones to school? If my memory serves me, it was with the high in school violence. And so I think we need to be prepared for that. Some parents may feel like, hey, I want my kid to be able to call me if they don't feel safe, if they want to be able to reach out to me, because it's become a norm. And so I think it would be, I think we need to think about how parents are doing it. And I'm not the best to speak to that, probably our administration is, because you talk with them all, you visit with the parents, and you may feel like you have a good feel for what response you're going to get. I'd love to hear about that.
So I think what I'd like to do then, we have the ability to vote today. We need to vote today. We can either accept that as it is, to Jeff's point. When we read it this week, we need to make an amendment. We can make an amendment. We have the right to vote no. So whatever the board decides today between the 5 of us today will be what it is. And if we have 3 no's, then it's a no, we have to wait. And so we'll go that route. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the update of the high school handbook as it is today, with an understanding of, when we have an opportunity to read through it this week as a board, we can make suggestions and updates to Ms. Davis and Dr. Roberts.
My only response, I'm gonna vote no, because I don't have enough. It's not that I don't totally agree with it, but I'm gonna vote no for lack of.
Okay. So do I have
lack of clarification.
I've made the motion. Do I have a first? Can somebody make the motion? So that's going to be a.
I make a motion that we wait until next Tuesday to vote on it so that we can read it.
I second that.
Okay.
And I don't have a problem in the world with the principal saying this is what's coming.
Yeah.
But I don't feel comfortable approving something I have not had the opportunity to read.
All right. So you made the motion. Who first?
That was,
But you
that
made
was,
the
that was
first
me. There was
motion.
a second.
Second was there. All
To
in
table.
favor?
To table it.
Table to Tuesday. All in favor of table to Tuesday.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. So ayes have it. You got me as a nay.
Is there a way that we can have stuff the Friday before the meeting for the record? Like, cause I really would have liked to.
And I think Jeff had said about that like a year ago too. We were really working on getting at least 4 or 5 days ahead of time. And so that would be lovely. And I know it's not always, I know it's
totally agree.
75 pages.
So, okay, so it's been, we're tabling it to Tuesday for the vote. So Heather, Ms. Carpenter, we'll have to work through that. Obviously, you guys figure out what that road, how we're gonna work through that with the students until we get this approved. We will commit to having this read and understood and notes made. And feel free to reach out to Ms. Davis or Ms. Carpenter if any questions. So we can make sure that it is completely done next Tuesday. All good. Okay. There's Katie, you are back. You know, I think I'll just go ahead and read this so the parents can hear it too. If that's okay. You can let this up here. Hold on. All right, face covering policy. During the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Arkansas Arts Academy is taking measures to ensure the health and safety of students, staff, and families and prevent community spread of the virus. These measures include encouraging frequent hand washing, social distancing, regular cleaning and disinfecting, and the use of face coverings. Per the CDC, cloth face coverings are recommended as a simple barrier to help prevent respiratory droplets from traveling into the air and onto other people when the person is wearing the cloth face covering, coughs, sneezes, talks, or raises their voice. In the event Act 1002 is amended and allows school districts to determine their own face covering policy, All staff, students, and visitors at Arkansas Arts Academy will be required to wear face coverings when on campus, regardless of COVID-19 vaccination status. Face covering guidance: face mask must fit properly and not hang loose or fit too tight. For younger students, choose a face covering with ear loops instead of ties. Masks with ties will create challenges for students and teachers. Practice wearing masks before the first day of school. Mark your students' masks to prevent accidental sharing. Wash cloth face coverings daily. Face coverings should cover the nose and the mouth. Your student should not be able to fog up a mirror or blow out a candle through your face covering. Face coverings will be worn indoors at all times, but may be removed when eating or drinking. In the event your student is unable to wear a face mask covering, please contact your student's principal. If you are unable to provide your student with a face covering, both campuses will have masks available for students updated 8/2/21. That is what I like that.
Is that
Yeah, I'll make a motion
A motion there, motion to approve as so quickly written. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a second?
My second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye, all opposed, say nay. All right, ayes have it. Thank you so much. Okay, next is a discussion of items since the publication of the agenda. Kind of did that already with the. Oh, hi. Yes.
Did we have the vote to add Adrian to the checking account?
Oh,
No, but we
we
can.
can now. It's part of item 7. Okay, thank you.
I'll make that motion next.
All right, but a second. So we have a motion from Leslie and a second from Kara. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Congratulations. You
Thanks for
also
keeping us
have
straight.
ability to have a credit card.
No,
Or
no
checking
credit
account.
card.
Not the, I was just checking. That's right. You gotta sign some stuff. Okay. Are there any other discussion points we need to make that were not on the agenda from anybody on the board? Jeff, anything for you two? Feel free to chime in.
No, nothing else from me.
All good here. All right, executive session. Do we have any need to go into executive session today?
I would like to, if that's possible.
So I can get a motion for executive session. Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, so executive session will be, I think we'll be still live. Are you going to close it? How do you do that?
Well,
keep
are
it
you
on?
going to do it here?
No, we'll probably just scoop off somewhere.
Yeah, I'll leave it open until
Okay.
you guys come back.
All right.
And then-
We have a place somewhere.
Like with adults last year? I just wanted to make sure that.
Hey,
I don't know
Jeff,
if I can get off the floor today.
Jeff,
so-
I'll call you and put you. on.
Yes, we can find.
Bring your own chair.
Where is this part? That's interesting.
Oh, no, I say the issue.
Thanks, Dave.
Our new life is not good. Because all I have now is, yes, I could. But if I have something, and then you can get your pictures. Every time we get someone takes them. Look at this one, look at her. Oh, this is her clip jumping. Jumping off the cliff, that little power star move. When they were like driving out to the
There were some bathrooms. And then we were like, right by the elevators, kind of that we went up, because we were in the elevator. I thought we were over by the office. Someone, no, wait, I am so turned around.
Now you're over by the old office.
There's no way to get from the second